Hi, my name is Jessica Buckman. I've been training Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for just over 10 years, and I just got promoted to black belt by Comprido. So, how I started Jiu Jitsu was actually like when I was a very little kid. My dad would kind of teach me grappling skills because he used to do judo, and we would just play around. He would teach me how to pin him and like get pinned and how to like escape kind of. So that kind of sparked my love of grappling itself. And later on, like over the course of a few years, like that was just like our game that we played. And so as a kid, I just thought of it as a fun activity to do. And then eventually I wanted to learn more. We heard about jiu-jitsu. We found Comprido, and he took me to my first class. It was just a kids class, and I instantly fell in love. So ever since then, I haven't stopped training. It's just been like the activity or hobby that I love doing the most. So when I first started, I instantly knew that this was something I wanted to do for the rest of my life, especially after meeting Comprido and hearing that he was a world champion. I knew that that's what I wanted to do too, and I knew that for some reason I instantly thought that that was possible for me. And I immediately wanted to start competing. So pretty early on, I went to my first tournament. It was a super small tournament in Wisconsin, but as a kid, I was super excited about it. I remember going up to Wisconsin, and I was waiting all day long because at the time, like all of those small competitions were really disorganized. So you never knew when you were gonna fight. You just waited, and I had all this adrenaline. I'd never competed in jiu-jitsu before, so I didn't even know what to expect. And I waited, and then I ended up going against a boy, and we were having a pretty tough fight. Like, I think it went the full, like, I think it was 3 minutes, and there was no score, so it ended up being going into overtime for that rule set, and it was the first point or submission wins. So we were still having like a battle, and then at the end of it, I osotogari'd him, and then I just like squeezed his head as hard as I could because I wanted to like solidify the position and get my points. And then I remember being so excited when I won. Like as soon as the ref raised my hand, I like ran off the mat like it was World, like the final of Worlds, and then like I jumped into my dad's arms, and it was like the best moment of my life, that like for that period of my life. So that just kind of sparked like my love of competition. Ever since then, like I've just been competing pretty regularly every single year. And I've learned so much from just competing. I think it really helped me growing up, and jiu-jitsu as a whole has helped me growing up. Because when I was a kid, like I knew that I wanted to be a world champion, I wanted to be a black belt world champion, and I had all these big goals, and it kept me really dedicated throughout school because I would want to get my homework done as soon as I got home from school, and then go straight to training. I didn't want to miss training ever. Like I really made sure that I got everything that I needed to get done before I would go to training. So it really helped me with school to stay organized, as well as just to kind of stay away from all of the drama or just like peer pressure that growing up in school can like provide for kids. So I think it really helped me stay focused. And so I remember like growing up, since jiu-jitsu was my main focus, like that's what all my dreams were about. Like I remember being very, very, very excited about getting my blue belt. So how the belt system works is before you're 16, you have to go through the kids belt system. So I went through that, and then when I turned, I was a little bit younger than 16. I was about like 15, but I was turning 16 at the beginning of the next year. So I was so excited to get my blue belt, and I thought that, I was gonna finally be able to compete in these big tournaments like IBJJF, like the Chicago Opens was a big deal to me back then, and especially Worlds, and all the big tournaments, Nogi Worlds, and that probably the transition from the kids belt system to blue belt was probably the hardest that I had to go through, just because mentally it was a lot harder than I imagined. Going into my first tournament, my first big tournament as a blue belt, it was Worlds, and I had big expectations for myself. I thought I was gonna win. A lot of people were telling me that I was gonna win, so going into it, I of course I know that I was maybe going to lose, but I was pretty confident going into it. And then like at the day, it just seemed like everything was going wrong, because I get to the venue, the pyramid, and then I was expecting to fight at around like 3, I think, but around like 1 o'clock, I heard my name get called, and I was super confused. But that's just the way it is at big tournaments. You should expect to go like a bit early, just because there's so many people. They try their best to make sure that everyone goes on time, but there is definitely a chance that you can go early. And it being my first tournament, I didn't prepare myself to think like that. So I was not even dressed yet. I like looked at my dad, and I was like eating a snack, I think, and I was just like, oh shoot. Like I run to the bathroom and like to get changed, and like I hear them, they're like calling me once and then calling me twice, and I'm like, I'm gonna get disqualified. Like I don't even know if I'm gonna fight. And so I go there, and then I'm like rushing. I get weighed in, and then like I'm like shaking, because I'm like not just nervous to compete, but like I felt rushed, and like all of a sudden I just have all this adrenaline. I go out there, and it's all just kind of like a blur. Like I didn't even really like, I was fighting, but I was kind of just like still in shock from like all of it going so wrong. And then I ended up losing by 1 advantage, and I was devastated. Like I was so upset, because I was going early. Like actually the only person that was there was my dad, because everyone thought I was going at a different time. So like I felt like I let them down, even though they weren't there. But I was extremely disappointed. I was like, that was my chance, and I just blew it, basically. Like so that was a really hard moment for me competitively. And then in the absolute, I ended up pretty much not being able to let go of the loss before, and I lost again, because it was just in my own head the whole day. And that was kind of like, I wish it was where I learned from that day immediately, and the rest of my juvenile blue belt years were smooth. But it actually took like the whole 2 years at juvenile to grow from that experience. Like every single tournament I did after that, I would just get into my own head. I placed a lot. The divisions were smaller, of course, too, so that helped. But I also just didn't fight the way I fought in training. And every single tournament, I would go home on the plane. I would just be super sad, with my like bronze medal or silver medal in my luggage, and I would just be like super sad, looking out the window, all dramatic. And then I would just be like, why aren't I fighting the way that I'm training? Like I feel good during training. I'm hitting good moves in training. I'm training as hard as I can every single day. I don't know why I'm losing, and I don't know why I'm like freezing up. I don't even feel like I'm having fun out there. So that was pretty much every tournament from the time when I was 16 to the time when I was 17, actually till I was 18. So before I turned 18, I knew that I was going to be in the adult division the next year. And I thought to myself, like, I need to fix something, because clearly something's not right. I'm not even enjoying myself while I'm competing, so why am I even doing this? So I thought to myself, like, I don't know exactly what the problem is, but I think it's mostly just mental because I feel fine during training. So I need to fix that part of myself. And after talking a lot with my dad and my parents, like they helped me a lot to understand that like I was kind of just getting in my own head. So I ended up buying a book. It's called The Psychology of Champions. And I would just read that book every day. Like I used to take the bus to school, so I would read that every day on the way to school. And then in between classes, I would read. And then whenever there was a free moment in school, I would just like study and watch highlight videos and just like, that was what I did like during school. Of course I paid attention and like I still got good grades, but like I would, every free moment I got, I would either be doing my homework so that I could train at night, or I would be watching jiu-jitsu videos, or I'd be reading The Psychology of Champions. And so that book really actually did make me understand like where I was going wrong with my mentality. I understood after reading that book that I was just pretty much scared to lose. And going into a fight, like if you're just thinking about losing, that's never a good thing, because the more you think about it, you're probably gonna lose, or you're not gonna, be able to react as fast, or everything's gonna go wrong if you're just focusing on not losing. So instead of focusing on not losing, I just focused on having fun and reminding myself to have fun and going into it thankful, as well as just like not super paranoid about everything going correctly. I just told myself that probably nothing's gonna go correctly, and I still have to deal with that because no one's ever gonna have a perfect day. There's always gonna be something. You might get sick before the fight. You might, like have to go on a different flight, and like that will change your schedule, or anything could happen, and that's completely out of your control. So if you're always gonna just hope for a perfect day or a perfect week or a perfect month leading up to the tournament, you're already setting yourself up to fail. So that's what I was doing. And I was like, everything has to be perfect before I have to eat the perfect meal. I have to, get 8 hours of sleep. I have to like get ready and have my gi on like an hour before, or like I was just too crazy about that. And so after reading the book and just thinking about, my own self and what I could do better in the sport, that really helped me going into my first year as an adult blue belt. So I spent 3 years as a blue belt, 2 in juvenile, and then my last year was as an adult. So transitioning from a juvenile blue belt to an adult blue belt, that's where I saw like a huge amount of growth in my physical competitiveness as well as mentally, all due to reading the book and just focusing on the mental side of jiu-jitsu. And so my first tournament as an adult was Pan Am's. So that was in California. I remember just thinking at that tournament, like, you know what, I know that lately, like at my other tournaments, I've been getting in my head. I've been doubting myself before the fight. Like before I would fight, I used to be like, oh man, like what if I lose? Or like, I don't know if I can do this, or just get like really anxious. And so it was actually kind of funny because I was still kind of struggling, of course, because I hadn't finished reading the book, and then also like that was gonna be my first tournament, so I never really like applied the things I learned in the book to an actual tournament. So I was kind of still a little nervous. And I actually remember this, right the day that I was supposed to fight, I was getting my gi on, and I was walking in the venue, and I happened to pass by like a friend of mine. His name is Devontae Johnson. He's from Unity in New York, and he actually said, like, I don't even think he knew that I was having these thoughts in my head, but he ended up just saying like, oh, good luck. If you think one negative thought, think 5 positive ones. And I was just like mind blown. I was like, that's actually really smart. And so that's what I did. Like I just, instead of even trying to think a negative thought or trying not to think negative thoughts, I'm like, let the negative thoughts come, but I'm just gonna force myself to think way more positive thoughts. So the whole time leading up to my matches at the tournament, like in the warm-up area, I was just thinking like, I can do this, I can do this. That's all I thought in my head for the entire tournament. All I thought was, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, just so that I wouldn't even let any negative thoughts creep in. So leading up to my first fight, I was like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, in my head, just like very determined. And ended up winning my first fight. And then I went back to the bullpen, and again, I just continued chanting in my head, like, I can do this. And then another fight went by and I won, and then I ended up, I think I had another fight, honestly, it's been a while, but I ended up winning after closing out with one of my teammates. Her name is Nicole, and that was just like a very, very, very great moment for me and for the both of us. But it really did like help me gain momentum for the rest of the year. So after that experience, I was like, wait, I actually won. I actually won a major tournament. Like, I actually did it. I was like in shock a little bit. And I just felt really happy, and like, not just because I did it, not just because I competed well, but because I felt good on the mats. Like, I was having fun. I felt more like I was training than before. Like, I felt like I was competing the way I was training. And I think that tournament really shifted my mindset. It made me realize that I can do it. And it helped me understand what helps me during tournaments to stay focused. And having like a mantra is something that I still do today. It's not always the same. Like, sometimes it's different. I just kind of go with the flow nowadays, and whatever positive thought or whatever encouraging thought that pops into my head the day of a tournament or the week of a tournament, that's just what I chant along the way, along each match. I just say it to myself, and that's been extremely helpful. So I think that year really helped me a lot grow as a competitor, as a person, and just understand myself a little bit more. So I think that was a very good experience for me. So the last year, I got my brown belt a little bit after getting second place at Worlds as a purple belt. So I got my brown belt in August of 2019. And then 2020 hit, and I had a lot of plans to compete as a brown belt. I was gonna do Pan Ams, Worlds, all of it. And then obviously with the whole pandemic that is going on right now, all of those plans got cut a little bit short. So with that, I think that it made me take a step back and refocus again, kind of similarly as when I was a blue belt. So I'm thankful that while it wasn't a perfect year, of course, it still helped me regain focus as a brown belt. And I was able to actually compete as a brown belt in October of 2020. That was my only tournament of the year, and I won. It was Pan Ams. So that was very good. It definitely helped me again just realize that I can do it, and I can be a brown belt. I can be a brown belt competitor. And I think that a lot of my motivation comes from just my coaches and my teammates at the gym. So that's been great to have them. Comprido has been my coach since I started, so like 11 years old. He's been there, through all the losses, through all the wins. He's always believed in me, and I think that that's something that has helped me an immense amount. It's always helpful to have people that believe in you no matter what. So like my parents, Comprido, Marcelo, and as well as like all of my teammates, they definitely believe in me, and that helps me believe in myself. So I think that having Comprido and having like the same coach for the past 10 years has also been extremely helpful, because he knows me, he knows what he needs to say to me in order to motivate me or to light fire under me if he senses that I'm not feeling motivated, or if I'm seeming different, then he knows what to say to me. He knows what I have to do in order to get better, because he's been there as well. So that makes me trust him and trust his process, because he knows what I'm going through. He knows what it takes to be a champion, and that's why I trust him so much, as well as Marcelo. Like, they've both been doing this for over 20 years, so they know what they're doing, and so I can just kind of let them coach me and do their thing, and that I can just show up and train and do what they're saying, and then it's a pretty big relief to not have to worry about, I wonder if what they're doing is right. Like, I know that what they're doing is right, so that's been a great help. I'm very thankful for them, as well as my parents for always supporting me, of course. So again, my name is Jessica Buckman, and I'm a black belt under Comprido. And thank you for watching. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram username is Jessica Buckman, Buchman. Anybody watching out there that's just starting jiu-jitsu, just keep going, have fun, and keep training.